Hi guys, just a little bit of injury prevention info on squatting or pulling any sort of weight from the floor. I see a lot of people in clinic who've either been squatting in the gym or doing some power cleans, that sort of thing, hurting their back a lot, and I think it can be prevented by just realising that not everyone is going to be a naturally born deep squatter, and the same with pulling weight from the floor. So to be able to be a deep squatter, you really do need to have shallow hip socket. So as a Celtic nation, we tend to actually have quite a deep hip socket, whereas your Eastern Bloc countries like your Poland, Bulgaria and Ukraine, you've got a really shallow hip socket. So it's no wonder that these sort of countries tend to excel in weightlifting. It's not to say that if you are from this country you're never going to be a deep squatter, but really people need to understand that the deep squat is governed quite a lot by your anatomy, and if you've got a deep hip socket then you're never going to be a natural deep squatter. I mean, you can do things like soft tissue mobilization, bit of stretching, which is going to help, but it's certainly not going to turn someone into a deep squatter who hasn't got the anatomy to do it, okay? We often see a lot of disc injuries, and it's purely because people are trying to get really deep in the squat because they think it's the thing they should be doing, because they see, you know, these people in the CrossFit Games and these Olympic lifters squatting to depth. You have to understand that the people who are at this sort of level, they're there because, well, number one, they're genetically gifted to be doing these sort of movements. You know, as well as all the hard work they put in, but I think people just really need to try and get that into their head that it doesn't matter that they can't go really deep, because sometimes the anatomy just won't allow it. So I'm just going to show you a quick demonstration of what to watch out for when you're squatting or pulling weight from the floor. And this is basically dissociation between your sacrum and your lumbar spine, okay? So you want to keep a nice sort of straight, not straight, but you want to keep the continuity between your lumbar spine and your sacrum, and you want to try and avoid this flexion in the bottom of your squat or pulling weight from the floor, okay? So I'll just show you that now. Okay, so first of all, you want to try and find like a neutral spine position, so it's going to be somewhere between maximum lumbar extension and flexion, okay? Okay, so about there, I'm just going to go down here. And it's probably about that position. I feel if I go any lower, my bum is going to start tucking under me, okay? So I would say be quite happy to load this pattern to this position, okay? So now I'm going to go down a little bit deeper, but I'm just going to try and show this butt winking or the spine going into lumbar flexion, okay? So as you see, as I start coming past this position now, you're going to start seeing my bum or my hip tucking under me now, okay? Okay, so I hope you could tell from that demonstration that first squat wasn't as low as the second squat. But I wouldn't have a problem loading someone with a squat, the first squat, because the back is kept in the neutral spine position. As you're going down, you're not going into this flexion and you're not getting this dissociation, this little break between your lower lumbar spine and your sacrum. And as you can see on the second squat, okay, it was a lot deeper, but I certainly wouldn't load anyone in that sort of squat pattern. I mean, it'd probably be okay to do unloaded, and I don't think there's really a problem with people exploring that sort of range of motion without any weight on the back. But when you're talking about putting heavy weight on your back and going to that depth and getting that flexion in the lumbar spine, I mean, at the end of the day, if you do it often enough, you are going to get a herniated disc in your back, okay? Professor Stuart McGill has shown that herniated discs only happen in the flexion and with load, okay? So, I mean, if you're training every day and you're doing these sort of movements, then you definitely are going to get some back issues. And this is what we tend to see in clinic with people all the time. So they come in, they hurt their back, and I say, okay, show me how you squat. And I pretty much guarantee that 9 out of 10 people will be going into lumbar flexion as they go down low, because they just think that you know, the lower they go in the squat, obviously the better it is, but it's just not the case. You're just genetically not designed to go that low, some people, and it's just the way it is, I'm afraid. And again, it's the same with pulling weight from the floor. I mean, a lot of people, they haven't got the genetics to pull weight from the floor, just because of the same thing, that you can't get into the position with keeping a nice neutral spine, again, because they haven't got the anatomy to do it. And again, mobility, stretch and that sort of thing is going to help, but it's certainly not going to take someone who hasn't got the anatomy to do it into being a really good puller from the floor. So it's all about avoiding this lumbar flexion, pulling or squatting, because this is when you're going to hurt the discs in your back, okay? I just really want people to try and understand that, because I think a lot of these problems can actually be avoided if people get that into their head, and they just realise that they don't have to be going this deep. And not to say that you can't do things like power cleans and stuff, because they're a great exercise, but just pull them off the blocks, bring it up a little bit, and you can still be doing the movements. It's just, you know, you're probably never going to be a top level Olympic weightlifter. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be a good athlete. The anatomy of the hip, which I'm talking about, just in case it is a little bit confusing, okay? So when I talk about the anatomy of your hip joint, I'm talking about this joint here, okay? So it's where the femur, the head of the femur, actually sits in, it's called the acetabulum, okay? So it's basically just the hole where the head of the femur sits in, okay? And again, it's all governed by the depth or shallowness of this joint and the actual position of the head of the femur, okay? So a good little test as well is to lie on your back and get someone to lift your leg up for you with the knee flexed. What you'll find is natural born squatters, they'll be able to bring the leg right up, knee almost touching their chest, in this kind of linear plane here, without the lumbar spine going into flexion, or basically an increased bend happening in the back, okay? And then what you'll find with people who are not able to do this, as you bring the leg up, they will start to go into lumbar flexion pretty quickly as you keep pushing it, and they'll want to bring their leg out like this, okay? Okay, let's see if I can show that again. So as the leg comes up, you will watch the lower back and it'll start to go into flexion, and the leg will want to come out with this, okay? And it's all governed by the anatomy of the hip joint, okay? There we go.